Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Thank you for joining us all those with our weekly sessions. And so today I want to focus on quite a critical place that we seem to be emerging. And I want to talk about timeline. What is a timeline? What do we mean by a timeline? And what influences do we have with timelines? And so there are two ways of looking at a timeline. There is a way of looking at a timeline in terms of physical events. So, for example, you plant a tree, a seed, and a few weeks later it germinates, and a few months later it becomes a fully fledged plant, and then a few months later it has a flower, a few months later it has a fruit, a few months later it sheds its leaves, and so on and so forth. So you have a timeline. You can demonstrate that by planting this seed here now, this is most likely, as long as the conditions are right, to lead to a fruit in the future. So this is what we call a physical timeline. But there are also consciousness-based timelines. And that is where you are going to end up, not where the physical situation is, how the physical event unfolds, but where you end up within yourself. And we are now at this point at which there are two timelines. There's a timeline which continues within the darkness. There's a timeline which is fueled with fear, with control, with a disease, with illness, with strife, with working 9 to 5, and then dying. Or there is a timeline that's associated with freedom, a timeline that's associated with full flourishing human beings, where we use the technology not to control us, but we use the technology in order to serve humanity. You know, humanity can use technology to grow foods in ways that we have never imagined. So, so we have two timelines. We have a timeline that goes down the sci-fi kind of world in which technology is used for the welfare of humanity and existence and life, or it's a timeline that we continue on the one that we've been. Perpetual wars, destruction, greed, absolute, I mean, child trafficking, uh, human trafficking, just the darkest of the dark, because we are in a duality, right? And sometimes the pendulum goes this way, sometimes the pendulum goes that way. Now, it really depends where you are that's going to impact that pendulum for yourself. So, let me tell you a story. Okay, so here's a story from a Sufi tradition again. It is said that a very rich and powerful man came to see a mystic. And mystics are people who are kind of connected to the source, or they don't see the difference between themselves and the source. Another way of looking at it. So the Sufi came to a mystic and said, you know, everyone thinks you're fantastic, your words become reality. So I would like you to do a prayer for me. And the mystic asks this rich man, what kind of prayer do you want me to do? And this rich man says, I want you to do a prayer that my state is never lowered than where it is today. So where I am today with this, you know, everything around me, all, but I want my state never to be lowered. And then a few years pass, and the Sufi happens to be walking through a market and he sees a homeless man. And this homeless man is the same rich, greedy man that came to see him a few years ago. So he says, you are a fraud, Mr. Sufi. You're a fraud because I asked you to do a prayer for me, and look what the prayer has done to me. And the mystic says, well, the prayer is answered. The prayer gave you what you wanted. What you had, the prayer gave you what you did not want to lose. And what is it that you did not want to lose? You didn't want to lose insecurity and greed and the fear of loss. And this is where you are. You're insecure, you're still greedy because you don't have enough, and now you're fearful. So we can create our own timeline. And this is where we are. We are at this nexus now. Now, if we focus and we become consumed with insecurity, with fear, with, oh my God, what's going to happen when the lockdown ends and all that kind of stuff, then the fear, it doesn't matter about the events, the fear is going to determine your state, your future state. And your future state will be a state of insecurity, a state of fear. Why? Because that's what you're growing. However, if we look not in terms of what Dove is saying or someone else is saying, but we look at existence and we learn from existence that how everything is taken care of, from the little gnat to the aphids to the everything around you. You did not create it. You haven't created it. It is there for you. You are being immersed in it to have this reality experience, what you call life. And you're privileged, like I am, to experience both emotions, mind, sensations, colors, sound. We are privileged to be offered such a fantastic show. But if we consume our mental space is consumed, the word Gurbani uses is manamuk, when you become consumed with the mental content and the emotional content, you actually do yourself more harm than just the harm to do with your physical health and your mental and emotional health. You actually change your destiny. That's your timeline. And according to Gurmat thought, there are 8,400,000 timelines that each one of us has the capacity to endure throughout our existence. This is just one of them. But in this one timeline, you have certain capacities that need to be cultivated, that need to be flourished. And the way we do that is to come beyond our mind towards this consciousness awareness space. And those who do not wish you to know what you are, those who wish to herd you, remember that word, herd you, those who wish to school you, those who wish you to believe in some bullshit that is to do with religions, to do with diseases, it's just, and to do with yourself, who you are. Only you know who you are, and what you have been told, what you have been brainwashed in, conditioned in order, that's the lens that you have through which you look at yourself and the world, has been one which has been constructed. And it has been constructed to serve a particular purpose or agenda. And that's very simply to keep you with the blinkers on. That's all there is to it. So, this timeline represents us an opportunity to move into a state of consciousness. And now, collectively, you know how laughter is infectious, how fear is infectious? Well, so is having a state of compassion. So is having a state of contentment and trust. The one thing that I cannot stress enough is to trust yourself and to trust that everything will turn out exactly to benefit you. Have that trust, because that trust is your security. It's not a belief. It's not saying, I think it'll happen. I hope it'll happen. It's a trust. That trust is the same trust the fetus has when it enters the womb. When we wake up and our hearts are beating, it's the same trust. It is inherent. We are always looked after. We just choose not to acknowledge it, because then we may have to question our reality. But we're always looked after. But we have to play our role in this, you know, in terms of take advantage of where you are. It's like going to a school and not learning. Yeah. You'll only know at the end what the point was. Now, life is a school, it's a learning process. We have to learn. We have to learn what it means to be life, what it means to be human, What does it mean to be myself? Who am I? People say I am a name, or I am a woman, or I am a man, or I am a this, I am that. But the problem is when you close your eyes and you look within, tell me, who are you? Do you know for yourself who you are? So it's really important to take this opportunity, because life comes to a standstill very quickly. Death will not come to you and say, oh, be ready tomorrow. No, that happens the moment your breath leaves. That's it. So it's not something in the future, it is a moment by moment happening. And our encounter with our own immortality wakes us up to that which is immortal. So our encounter with our mortality awakens our awareness to that which is immortal, that which is eternal, that which is the very essence of you. I'm not talking about a soul, I'm talking about something you can experience. And what you can experience is your awareness and your consciousness. So, the message is we need, as best as we can, to cultivate a state in which we induce security, we induce contentment, we induce uh, um, tranquility, harmony, calmness, and we avoid states which induce fear, which induce anger, because as we said to you 7, 8 weeks ago, by June, July, we will begin to see the starts of the riots. And it is simply following a timeline. It's looking at what began as fear and then added to that in the lockdown and how that evolves into fear, distress, alone, insecure, anger, and then anger, resentment, etc., etc. Builds, builds, builds until it explodes. And this is what we're seeing, where people are questioning the narrative. And remember that the TV, the reason it's called a program is because it programs you. Subliminal messages and frequencies. These affect your mood. And if your mood is low, this is feeding a particular agenda. So it's important to limit how much time you spend in front of these programmable or programming machines, because they are programming us in a particular way of thinking, right? So it's about moving within ourselves. Experience is where it's at. We're not interested in knowledge. We're not interested in belief. We are interested in experience. How do we make ourselves healthy? And this is the crux. At this moment, we have um, the, the threat of the first pandemic. And, I'm sure there will be other subsequent ones down the road in order to induce particular states. Now, this doesn't seem to have gone according to plan. So therefore, people are questioning it. People are saying that, what, policemen can be all together and they don't seem to, and the coronavirus knows not to jump from one policeman to another, but you and I have to have 2 meters between us. Just like things that anyone can question. Anyone can question. And then you begin to see that actually, what, you're not necessarily being told the truth, and therefore you need to think for yourself. Think for yourself. Critical thinking. What you believe to be true may not be true. And most of the cases, it isn't true. I don't want to break a bubble, but that's the truth of it, right? So we have these illusions, and when every time one of these illusions pops, we go through a bit of panic. We don't want it to pop. We don't want to think about death. We don't want to think about suffering. We don't want to, but this is life. This is what it means to be alive. And when you encounter it with an open heart, yes, it's uncomfortable to begin with, but then something tremendous happens where you recognize your own self no different to existence that you're in. And this is the starting point of what we may call enlightenment. One of the first kind of steps towards it is realizing that all that you're thinking, all that you believe to be true, isn't your fault. It's what you've been taught. So time to question. Time to question. What is the point of your life? What's the point of your life? Living in fear, in lockdown, working 9 to 5, gathering all those pennies so you can have a retirement home. And by the time you get there, you're ill, your health is deteriorated because you spent most of your time doing that. And as soon as you die, that little thing that you spent all your life collecting, what happens to it? Sold at half the price. Means nothing. Means nothing. So our priorities make a difference to the quality of our life. Being entertained 24/7 through our senses keeps us distracted from what we are. That's really the game. As long as you are engaged in the content and I can pull your awareness out, even through this conversation we're having, your awareness is in what I'm saying. So you notice it can be pulled out. So if we put a few visuals out, notice how the eye follows the visuals. Again, using little receptors in the back of your eyes in order to program, to send you a message that feeds an agenda. That's all it is. I'm not saying it's good or bad, it feeds an agenda. And this agenda is at your expense. But only if you wake up, you will realize why it's at your expense. Because the human body, and now we keep reiterating this is the basis of the flames health initiatives, is the basic is that if you give the right conditions to the body and the mind and the emotions, right support, it will balance itself out. Always balance itself out. So with mental health, we begin there, we give the right conditions, allow people to build the scaffolding around themselves, metaphorically speaking, and then allow them to be able to work with their thoughts, work with their emotions, and so on and so forth. So the body is a self-healing, self-protecting system like everything else. Everything else around you is self-healing, self-protecting. You cut a plant today, in a few days' time, you'll find it will heal itself. You cut yourself today, as long as you keep it clean, it will heal itself. The body has an immune system, a fantastic system that works with your gut, that works with your mind. It's incredible. And it is so sophisticated that you can unbalance it simply by making someone scared, by putting fear on them. And this, what it does, changes the cortisol, the adrenaline, etc., etc., and that changes your physiology, makes you ill, imbalanced. You become imbalanced, that becomes malfunction. You go to your doctor, you say, go and say to him or her, I've got high blood pressure. They don't ask you about your stress. They don't tell you how to calm your mind down. They give you the pill, and you take that pill, and then you notice that actually, yes, you may still feel stressed, but your blood pressure is down. Why? Because it's been suppressed. But the body was trying to tell you something, which you suppressed. This is the basis of the medicine out there. So it's really important for us to recognize that by looking after our mind, looking after our emotions, looking after our body through just simple practices, we really become present to what we are. And as we become present to what we are, the implications of that are profound for you and they're profound for those around. So, as that Sufi mystic was asked, do a prayer for me that keeps this state. Well, we don't want a state of fear. We don't want a state of greed. And we certainly don't want a state of insecurity. And therefore, our meditations using the mantra. So, we've been introducing what a mantra is, the six authentic criteria of a mantra, how to use the mantra with your sound, how to use sound to allow yourself to harmonize from inside out. And many people have contacted us since we've been doing this and sharing some of their experience. Thank you very much. This mantra works by itself. It doesn't matter how who uses it. It is pan-human, but we need to know what to do with it and how to use it. And it's simple: awareness and sound. Put them together, and as soon as you put them together, something happens. And what happens is there are We can look at it in quantum states, where our container fields, container states that are created, or we can look at how the spins within our kind of electromagnetic body begins to change. So there are many ways to measure this, but the key is when we do this for ourselves, we begin to experience deep peace, and that peace is the catalyst of all your healing. And not just that, that is your trust. Because ultimately, you know that when you step back from everything, then where you end up, and it's always consistent. Remember that the peace that you feel, yes, it may be deeper or has a different quality to it at times, but end of the day, peace is peace. So if you do meditation 20 times, and out of 20 times, 15 times you experience peace, it means it's a real state. Because if it wasn't real, you wouldn't go to it, would you? Yeah. Only that which is real can you observe and interact with and become aware of. Yep. So going in. So we're going to use again our mantra today. And for those people who haven't been, who joined us just recently, so the mantra we're using is the mantra So Hum. And the way we enter within ourselves is we say it 3 times after a little bit of settling our body down. And we say it 3 times, but we say it aloud so people around us can hear it. Then we say it 3 times where we are just saying it to ourselves, we're just muttering it. Then we say it a number of times that we follow it in our mental space. So we synchronize it with our breath then. And then slowly we reduce this volume until we get to that little pulse. Yeah. But today I'm not going to take you deep down into that pulse. I want us to come to the heart. So here is when we bring the mantra and we allow the mantra to reside in a place called the Hirda. The Hirda is your spiritual heart. It is what all the mystics have been talking about. Bringing your mantra to this part can have a transformative experience, and within a few months, it can actually just change the whole thing inside out in terms of health, well-being. So it's a very powerful practice which hasn't been shared, to my knowledge, certainly on any platform, because this is the knowledge that is always kept stuck. How to do prayer of the heart. Every tradition has one. Anyway, here we are. So I'd like you to just shake your shoulders a little bit, just loosen up, stretch your back if you want, and close your eyes and close your mouth. And as you breathe in, begin to bring your focus to yourself, to your body in particular. Notice how your body feels. So notice your presence. So your presence may be the body itself. Your presence may be just a few centimeters outside the body, like a covering. Or your presence may be within the body. Now, if you go to your breath, and as you breathe in, bring your focus now to your inner body. So we want to look at what's happening within our body. And I'd like you to see if you can notice anything in your body. Start with your head. Move all the way down, face, throat, shoulders, chest, all the way down. And see if you can scan and find anything that's dominant in your body right now. Until you move all the way to the down to where you're sitting, and then go down your legs, all the way down to your feet. Just take a moment to notice if there's anything dominant in your body. And just all we need is location. Okay, now bring your focus to the chair or the floor that you're sitting on. And as you breathe in, allow your body to relax a little. Notice the sensations where the body makes contact with your chair or your floor. Bring this awareness upwards so you become aware of your hips. As you breathe out, bring this down your thighs. From your knees, next breath out, take it to your ankles. And then finally your feet. Now hold your focus at your feet as best as you can. Come back to the chair and let's scan the back. So we begin with the lower back. We move our focus upwards towards the middle back, shoulder blades. From the shoulders, we come down to our elbows, wrists, palms of your hands. Now again, just stop your focus. Hold your focus on the palms of your hands. See if you can notice what's happening within your hands. Not just the palms, but beneath the palms. See if you can take your focus there. And there may be nothing there, that's okay too. Hold it there. You may begin to notice that actually there is a movement there. Hold it there. Now take your focus down to your fingers. Again, just hold your awareness at your fingers. Notice the surface of your fingers and then go with it. And try and be as still as you can so you can notice what's happening there within your fingers. Bring your focus to the back of your neck. As you pull your chin in, notice the back of the neck stretching. Bring your focus to your eyes. Notice the darkness. Notice the fact that you are aware. How cool is that? And while the body may go through pains and ache, the awareness is never in pain and ache. Allow your eyes to relax a little bit. Soften this part of the body. Move your focus to your mouth, your tongue in particular. Scan your tongue from the back all the way to the tip. And again. And again. Allow your tongue to soften. Notice the sensations on the roof of your mouth, inside your cheeks. And as you breathe in, bring your focus back to your body. This body is made out of 5 elements. So there is the solid body, the skin, the bones, the teeth. And you can bring your focus towards that. Notice the surface of your arms, your face, your teeth. Then you have a skeleton that supports you. This is the solid part of your body. The skin, the cells. Then you have all the blood and the plasma, the saliva, all the liquid part of your body that's flowing through your body right now. That's the second element. Notice that you have awareness of your body, that there are electrical impulses that are telling you where you're sitting, that are telling you, informing you of all sorts of things, the temperature, how your body feels, what your mind is doing, all of this electricity. This is the fire element in your body. Now bring your focus to your breath, holding your focus just beneath your nose. This is the air body. Notice that it's not yours. It flows by itself. You don't have to believe that you will be breathing. You have trust in it. And then you have the space that you occupy. This is your fifth body, space. 5 elements to our body. Bring your focus now to your chest. And notice your feeling in particular. Try and label your feeling. It's a great exercise to know feeling and to label it. And if you can't find a label, are you comfortable or are you uncomfortable? Do you feel settled or do you feel unsettled? Is this moment enough for you? And if it isn't, what's missing? Notice how it's only through this body that you can feel. And this body locks you in this moment, in this time, and in this space. Your consciousness will determine which timeline your body follows. On your next breath out, begin to listen to the sounds around you and follow the sound of this bell as far as you can. Notice the silence. And now your intention, set your intention. And your intention is simply to listen to the sound, to the mantra, and to follow it. Nothing else. Bring your focus just beneath your nose and hold it there. Watching your breath moving in, watching your breath moving out. Once you feel that the mind seems to be quiet, you draw slow, deep breath in. And as you breathe out, you simply say the sound so. Listening to it as you utter it. Once again, deep breath in. So. And once again, so. Bring your focus just beneath your nose. And once again, begin to notice anything that's happening within your body. Perhaps there are a few more sensations in the body. Notice the shift in energy. Now we're going to do it 3 times again, but this time we're only going to do it such that only we can hear it for ourselves. So you're kind of muttering it and your tongue is moving, but you can hear it. So when you're ready, deep breath in. And again. Again, just listen to it all the way out. Once again. Once again, bring your focus just beneath your nose. Notice what's going on within you. Now, as you breathe in, say to yourself mentally so, and as you breathe out, hum. And the sound should be as long as your breath. As best as you can, begin. Allow the breath to breathe by itself. So as the breath comes in, hum as the breath goes out. And as you say it to yourself, you listen to it. Stay with the mantra. Notice how your awareness is like a laser. Follows the sound from the start till the end. Now I'd like you to see if you can bring the volume of the Soham within. Again, take your time, gradually lowering the volume. Listening while you're lowering the volume, allowing your awareness to become sharper and sharper. On your next breath out, follow the sound of this bell until you merge in the silence. Notice the quality of your experience. Once again, just allow this bell to take you as far into the silence as possible. When you're ready, if you can bring your palm of your hand and lay it across your chest. Left hand for men first, right hand for women first. So both your palms are at your chest, and just follow the movement, however tiny it is. Notice the warmth of your palm against the chest. Hold your focus at this chest. Now bring your awareness as best as you can to your chest. And as you follow this bell is going to take you deep into a cave that is deep within your own chest. Now, as gently as you can, bring to your mind the sound soham. Sounds very low to begin with, and it begins in the chest. Hold your focus there as best as you can, listening to the soham within yourself. And when your awareness kind of sits in your chest, see if you can slow your breath down a little bit more. When you're ready, draw a slow, deep breath in and hold that breath. Imagine you're going to just jump up and surprise someone with a birthday present. That expectation, that anticipation, and release your breath. When you hear the next bell, use this bell to come back to your breath, drawing a few deep breaths in. And when you're ready, gently opening your eyes, bringing some of that peace back with you, making that your foundation, making that your safety, your purity, your very essence. Gently opening your eyes when you're ready. Thank you very much for joining us, being part of this collective consciousness. May your flames burn bright, and it only takes one match to burn the forest down. And each one of you are those matches. So may your light burn the forest of darkness down. Know that you're looked after. Thank you very much. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.